Hello, everyone. My name is Clayton Scott, and I am a sophomore agricultural education major. And as agricultural educators, we use a more hands-on approach to assess if our students are learning our content material. This hands-on approach is commonly seen as us as educators transferring ownership of the learning process to our students. When we transfer the ownership of the learning process to our students, we are allowing our students to make choices within the unit content. And while they are making choices within the content, we allow them to take on a leadership role. And usually these leadership roles are seen as the students working through an assigned project, like creating a presentation over the unit material. And while we are allowing our students to make these choices and take on these leadership roles, we just have to keep in mind our course and learning objectives and outcomes. So when we exercise this transfer of ownership, we begin by having our students learning to do. When they are in the learning to do phase, it essentially means that they are building their conceptual knowledge of the unit content. And in an agricultural education classroom, that's essentially a traditional lecture and note taking session. Once we complete those notes and we've completed building their conceptual understanding, we transfer over to the doing to learn phase, which is where students demonstrate their conceptual understanding of the material by working through a real world application of that content knowledge. And since we teach in both a traditional classroom setting and in a shop or lab setting, this is seen in two different ways. So first off, in a classroom, an example would be if I assign my students to learn about the ruminant digestive system. So when we're learning to do, the students will be going through and taking notes over each piece of the ruminant digestive system, learning its function and the process as a whole. Once we transfer on to the doing to learn phase, I would have my students recreate the ruminant digestive system by using household items in a presentation. So the students will take on that leadership role and demonstrate how a blender could represent a piece of the ruminant digestive system and how a straw can represent a piece of the ruminant digestive system. But when we're in the shop setting, like I said, it looks a little different. We begin by having our students learn how to safely operate our equipment. And when they're learning how to do, they're learning how to use this equipment by learning how to turn it on, turn it off, and how to safely operate it. When we transfer over to the doing to learn phase, the students are taking on that leadership role and actively going to the shop and demonstrating that they know how to use this equipment. They demonstrate how to turn it on and turn it off in front of their class. So that's how we as agricultural educators know that our students are learning. We begin by transferring the ownership of the learning process to our students, allowing them to make choices in the unit content, and then we allow them to take on a leadership role within that content area to demonstrate their conceptual understanding of the unit.